You've got a lot of gaps to fill.
Yeah, we've got a lot of gaps. Look, we shuffle a couple of players around, not too many, because we don't want to play too many players out of position. And then a few boys are getting another opportunity to play, and hopefully they'll do well and step up. You know, we've worked well this week. We've worked on the way Brisbane play a little bit today, and we seem to match up really well against them, and it's the type of football we play. It suits us to play against Brisbane, so that gives us confidence to go up there and put in a good performance.
You can finish as high as 5th, I believe, and as low as last. I mean, it highlights the closeness of it, but it also highlights the importance of it's really important. And you don't want to look back and say, oh, we could finish last, because you want to look and say, all right, we can finish 5th. But it's important that we get good results these last 2 games. That's the most important thing, because we've had a decent season, and if we don't get 2 good results, then it looks like we've had a bad season. And I think that's the thing that we still think that we can make finals, and we still believe that we can go to Brisbane and win. And I think that's important that the players believe that, and we go on there and try and win the game, because the last 3 games have let our season down a little bit and made it harder for us. But we still think that we've got a chance of making finals. Just on Fred and Germano, they went down during the week.
Yeah. Fred's out for at least a month, so that's his season over. Disappointing, because he's had a very interrupted season. After that operation he had in the off season, he hasn't fully recovered properly or well. And Germano, like I said 2 weeks ago, the reason why I rested him, and people might see it as an excuse why I did, but I see players every day in training. I can see players are feeling heavy or looking flat. Player doesn't always like it, because they want to play all the time. He didn't have a good pre-season, and so he was feeling flat, and then he strained his hamstring. He might be okay for next week against Mariners, but we're not sure yet.
Did he strain it in the game?
No, he strained it in training. So he was feeling heavy again from the game, and during training just wasn't even a really hard session. He ended up straining it. So it's a pity, because he's had a difficult season too. We just make sure that if he can play next week, will be good. If he can't, then he needs to make sure that his body's right for a good pre-season, because he needs one.
What happened to Fred?
Fred went to strike the ball, and he tore his quad muscle. So he's had a tough time this season. There's going to be a couple of new faces, because the player's out. So look, David Rankovic will come back in, Corny will come back in, and then in the midfield, Marcel, Nicky, they're a chance to play. So there's going to be a few inclusions. Goals feeling good again. After the 90 minutes, he felt a little bit heavy, but the day off yesterday and today he looked sharp and felt good. So and Willow for last week, being out, he's showed this week that he wants to play again. So we've got options still. We've got players out, and players that in the positions that are hard to fill. We still think that we've got a good enough 11 to go out there and win.
Fair to say, Rankovic and Coin will probably be your central defence.
Yeah, it looks like that. We haven't got too many other central defenders.
I was just running through my head, but David mentioned with the maths before of I guess how it can all sort of come. The margins are very fine, But does it bother you that you guys have played? If you looked at like 10 or 15 patches of the league, you put together 5 or 6 patches of that, you'd think you could do the best team.
I look at not 8, 10, 15 minute patches. I look at most of our home games. Take away the Adelaide game, probably the Central Coast Mariners game. Even last week, we matched it with a team that's high on confidence. There was a couple of little errors that we made, but all the rest of the home games, we played some very good football. Against Brisbane when we won 4-1, a lot of people said that, but that's not the same Brisbane. No one's put 4 past Brisbane this season still. The way we played against Sydney FC, the football that we have played at home has been
up there with some of the best football being played in the league. We just need to do that, on a regular basis. We can't just do it at home. We need to do it away from home. And when we're not doing it, still be hard to beat and still try and grind out results, because you can't always play that football. So it is disappointing, because people will forget about that and look at where we're placed, or how many points we pick up. But we know that it is a fine line, and if you get that right, then next season hopefully will be challenging.
Your plan was always you got off to a relatively slow start. Your plan was to come home with a bit of momentum. Yeah. Can you pinpoint the reasons that it hasn't happened, particularly in the last 3 weeks?
It's my plan was not to have so many players out all the time. I get asked this question. I got asked this question when we were going through that patch where we were struggling in the second halves. And when you haven't got a full squad to always pick from, and players that are playing regular football, or players to use from the bench, it's hard to be consistent. And so we've had players in and out in the last month. We've had to rely on Germano a lot, who had a rough pre-season. So we've had certain injuries that we haven't been able to actually have a starting 11 that can play most of the games. So that was probably the reason why we haven't come home as strong as we would like. But we still feel that that the fitness levels are good. With 2 games to go, we can still come home strong and win these 2 games and make the finals. And anything can happen in the finals. But first thing, we have to go get a result against Brisbane.